Hey YouTube, I'm really hoping you can help me with this one. Basically today I'm going to give you the barest of details about 3 video games from my youth. We're talking late 80s, early 90s that I'd love to replay and reminisce about. The problem is I just can't remember what they're actually called. So I'll share with you the details about what I remember, which isn't much, and hopefully that's enough to jog your memory and solve this mystery. G'day there, it's Al here from the blog onemanmanyplans.com.au and of course the YouTube channel which you're checking out right now of the same name. It's a Friday afternoon, I can't wait for the weekend, my workday is over and currently you find me reminiscing once again. Yes, on a very comfortable seat on the reminiscing train, and this has actually come about from the last thing that I uploaded here to YouTube, which was all about those fighting fantasy novels from the 80s and the 90s, the game books from Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone. I absolutely loved them as a kid. I loved playing the hero. It kicked off a love affair of role-playing games for me. And the video was all about trying to track one down in 2024 just to reminisce about it. And how difficult that actually is to find one in the wild. If you haven't checked it out, here's a link for you. But naturally, that reminiscing line of thought led me to another big part of my youth, which was video games. Played a lot, still love it. 44 years strong, and still play games to this day. But there's nothing like going back and reliving some of the games from the youth, which I have been doing when I remember what the names actually are. However, in today's video, here are 3 games that I am really struggling to track down. It could be for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the lack of stunning detail that I'm going to provide you in hopefully solving this mystery for me. But they also might be games that, for whatever reason, never really got talked about on the internet, which is why I'm struggling to find any details through Google or Firefox or in forums, those kinds of things. So yeah, like I said, I'm hoping you can help. Now, if you know the title of any of these games, please share with us. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't know the title, but you may remember the game I'm talking about and you know a few more details that might help in the search, that would also be such a massive help. Please chuck it in the comments below. All right. I've got my fingers crossed. I'm in for a big weekend of reminiscing. Let's do this. Can we solve these 3 mystery games? Now, my first game is a war game, and it's actually not PC based, it's Mac based, Apple Macintosh. Now, I came from a Mac family. I'm a PC guy now, but back in the day, Dad had one of the mid-80s, late 80s, monochrome little Macintoshes, Macintosh Class. I think it was a Mac Classic, that's what it was. And then later on we had a color one, which was pretty special back in the day. But for this particular game, we're talking that black and white era, it wasn't a game that I owned either. I don't know if it was a friend's house or a cousin's place, but they also had a Macintosh Classic. And with this war game, one thing that I remember in particular above all else was the fact that you were an army up against another army, and your characters looked a little bit like this. Yes, fantastic artistic representation of my memory there, but that's what it was. You had a black stick figure and a white stick figure, and that was one army, and that was the other army. And you'd cross some kind of war zone, and there would be treasure chests on there that you could open up for bonuses, and when the characters met, they would actually start flashing. Like when they were fighting, they'd flash black and white, black and white, black and white, black and white. Does that help? Another thing that I remember was that each of the missions had a star rating. Obviously, the more stars, the harder it was. The 1 or 2 times that I tried to play this, I picked somewhere in the middle and got my rear end handed to me. So I wasn't very good at this particular war game, but that's what I remember. So we're talking those Apple Mac days where the mouse had just 1 button, 2 colors, monochrome, stick figures battling it out on some kind of war zone front, treasure chests. This would have been late 80s, possibly verging into early 90s. No idea when the game was created, when it was put out there, but it was a Mac game. I remember that much. Do you know that Mac game? Let me know below. Game number 2 is another war game. It's a hex-based war game, and I remember playing this on my 486 DX. So that's what, very early 90s? I was probably 11 or 12. I reckon this game too came on a CD-ROM, and it was one of those 101 shareware games. that, or shareware collections that you got from news agencies or computer stores or those kinds of things. The disc would have cost you less than $10 and 101 shareware games. A lot of them were junk, but I remember this particular war game, this hex-based war game, because of one simple fact: it involved Robin Hood. And you were Robin Hood and his merry band of men on a hex fighting against the Sheriff of Nottingham and his henchmen. So it's you and the outlaws, it's Sheriff of Nottingham and his enforcers on the other side. Yes, Friar Tuck was a playable character in this, or at least you could move him and whack people with your stick. Robin had a bow. Maid Marian was a character in this as well. I've had a quick search on Google for this. The closest I've come to it is someone on Reddit also searching for this particular game. And they pointed out that it's 90s. So maybe that'll help. But I'm thinking this was some kind of shareware title. So I might have to, delve through the shareware sites and abandonware and those kinds of things. But if you know what this is, Robin Hood, hex-based game, early PC of the 90s. That's all I've got for you. Please let me know in a comment below. Game number 3, and I'm apologizing for this very, very well in advance because all I've written for this one is very vague role-playing game. Again, I reckon it came from one of those shareware discs because I played just about every RPG on those discs that I could download and install in my computer. I can't remember the characters, I can't remember the aim of the game, but the one thing that still stands to me, and this is an odd thing, which is why I still recall it after all of these years, because if we're talking early 90s, based on when we think the second game came out, then that's, 30, close to 35 years ago. I still remember this one fact, that the game gave you multiple classes to level up into, but as a suggestion, you either started off as a nomad or a barbarian, and the game suggested you get to level 40 of that first before you try any other class, like a rogue or a wizard or a samurai or a ninja. I think it had ninjas in it too. So you'd start off as a barbarian on level 1, but for whatever reason the game just went, you know what, you should work really, really hard at this, you should get to level 40, and once you do, you'll be wise enough to try a different character class. That's about all I can remember. It certainly wasn't anything of the sprite level of a game like Realms on PC and Mac. It wasn't an RPG that really stood out in my mind for anything else other than the fact that you started off as a barbarian and the game said, look, you can try and do different things, but we reckon you should stay a barbarian until you get to level 40 and then branch out and see what you can do. Does that help at all? I know that's an incredibly limited amount of information to work with here, but maybe you remember that one particular feature of this game as well. If you know, please let me know below and help me solve this possible mystery. So there you go, there's my 3 games today, and hopefully you can help. Like I said, if you know the name, or if you've got any more clues for me, please let me know in the comments below. Interestingly, I did actually start off with 4 games for this video, and out of curiosity, I quickly chucked in some details about the 4th game that I remember, and it was all about a, see if I've still got the amazing picture that I gave. No, I've ripped it out of my book. It was a top-down shooter of a soldier running through a castle with a rifle pointed out ahead. You saw his helmet, you saw the rifle sticking out, I think the bayonet as well. I quickly Googled that, a few options down on Google, and I found out what that game was, and it turns out it was Into the Eagle's Nest. Okay, and here's a quick look of Into the Eagle's Nest. This has brought back a lot of memories, so I might try and track this down on the weekend and give it a bit of a spin. Like I said, if you can help, if you can solve a mystery, if you love a mystery, please have a crack at mine. If this has jogged a few memories for you, if you're reminiscing as well and you've liked what I've been chatting about, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing plenty more of this reminiscing because it's been a fun journey so far. Thanks for checking out my latest vid, and I'll chat to you soon. Have a great weekend. Take care.